Welcome back into the Cowboys Report. I am Tom Downey. Today's show is all about the NFL Network report about Micah Parsons' future, opening up the door for trade rumors to once again return. In particular, NFL Network reporting the Cowboys have had some internal discussions about potentially trading away Micah Parsons. So what do you think the Dallas Cowboys will end up doing with their superstar pass rusher? We'll break down what NFL Network wrote and frankly, some of the issues I have with this report in just a second. But get your votes in. T for trade or K for keep. Now, there were three main points that were mentioned in this NFL.com write-up, I'll call it, because there were a couple of different players discussed in this overall. We'll go in depth on all of them, but they were, Mike has been quiet on the Brian Schottenheimer trade, implying that could mean something negative. The outright reporting of there have been internal discussions, conversations about potentially trading Mike and not paying him a king's ransom and getting one back in a trade, and just in general conversation about the money angle, which is important with any of these types of conversations. Let's get to the big parts of that piece from Tom Pelissero and Ian Rapoport over on NFL.com. They wrote, whoever wrote it, or if the digital media editor wrote it, whatever, they report, while there have been no trade talks, sources say there have at least been some internal discussions about whether to pay Parsons or trade him for a king's ransom. If the Cowboys are willing to listen, they may get it. In general, I have no issue at all with internal conversations. That happens at a much higher level and much more frequent rate than I think a lot of us realize. I think even trade talks happen at a higher rate than we realize, but that doesn't normally get out because no one wants to let it get out that they didn't get the player or that they were not fully committed to said player. So I do have an issue with that getting out, even in a one-story capacity. You do need to do your due diligence. You should be exploring every avenue. Talent acquisition is a 365-day business, right, Stephen? My question is this. How much do, they had some internal conversations really mean? How much does that really, truly mean in terms of the future of Micah Parsons? Because as we'll get into, when you read the entire story, they kind of did similar stuff of almost cherry-picking elements as it relates to not just Micah, but Trey Hendrickson, Max Crosby as well. So this will be the pinned comment on today's show. What is the % chance the Cowboys end up trading Micah Parsons? I don't think it's 0. So what do you think it is? Let me know at the pinned comments of today's show. Now, as part of what we were going to do today's show on originally was Jerry Jones's comments at the Super Bowl. Jerry said, well, we spent the most money of anybody in the NFL on a player last year. If we can do that again, that'd be pretty good. It is very clearly in reference to Micah Parsons. Now, I was going to take the approach, and I will take the approach on a future video of that should not be the bar. You should do more than that. But that is a clear indication from the owner a day ago that they want to pay Micah Parsons. Micah has said repeatedly he wants to be a Cowboy. He's implied he'll take less to be a Cowboy, which I don't know if I actually believe. I find it very curious at best, maybe outright disingenuous, to not mention either of those things. To not have a owner wants to pay him or said he wants to pay him, and front office and player want to get the deal done. Those are, I find that just questionable at best in terms of the reporting. Now, more on this to come. But first, today's show is made possible by Zbiotics. Zbiotics Pre-Alcohol is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It is this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Remember to drink this probiotic before drinking alcohol, drink responsibly, and get a good night's sleep to feel your best tomorrow. When these super chats come in hot and heavy, I don't always bounce back the same way I used to because, to be honest, I am older now. That's why I love Zbiotics. Helps me out. Go to zbiotics.com/chatsports. You can also scan the QR code on screen right now to get 15% off your first order when you use code chatsports at checkout. You can get a subscription using the code so you can stay prepared for the time or the occasion. Zbiotics, back with 100% money-back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money. No questions asked. Head to Zbiotics.com/chatsports and use code chatsports at checkout for 15% off. A big thank you to Zbiotics for sponsoring today's show and our good times. More reporting here from NFL Network about Micah. This is going back to the Schottenheimer angle there. Normally open with his opinions, the Cowboys' 25-year-old superstar hasn't said much of anything about the team's promotion of Brian Schottenheimer after a surprise parting of ways with head coach Mike McCarthy, a move Parsons called devastating. We did say something, actually, which, again, was ignored in the piece. Calvin Watkins, in a conversation with Micah Parsons, said that he told him he's spoken to new DC Matt Eberflus and on Schottenheimer, we just got to build relationship. Never had a one-on-one with Schott or anything like that, so building relationships is important. Which, yeah, it is. And also, Micah Parsons, a defensive-only player, not really having any interaction with an offensive coach who has not been on the defensive side, not been involved in meetings, isn't a huge surprise. That's actually fairly expected. Mike has also since said he's glad there's a bit of a reset going on for the Dallas Cowboys, and maybe that's just Micah, copium his way through a move he didn't want to see happen, but he wants to be a Cowboys, he wants things to turn out positively. He did say stuff, so why are you writing he didn't say anything? That's, again, weird. Now, what do you guys want to do? We asked what you think would happen. What is your preference? Do you want to pay Micah Parsons? Y for yes and for no in the comment section of today's show. More from NFL.com. Cowboys de facto owner Stephen Jones told NFL.com in December that the team will study the wisdom of having so much money invested in so few players, but added, I can't imagine there's a scenario where he's not wearing a star on his helmet. And Parsons is due about $24 million on the fifth-year option on his rookie contract in 2025. Now, a lot of the more recent Steven comments indicate they'll pay him. I said it at the time. A lot of times when Steven starts talking about money, it is also well, help us, we're poor, we're paying all these guys, we don't have the salary caps. That's more often what Steven is discussing. And if the Cowboys are smart, they will simply get a deal done, whichever way it is, trade or extension, with Micah Parsons sooner rather than later, because it saves them money. We went in depth on after Micah Parsons himself said he wanted to get a deal done quickly, which again, why was it not included? I don't know. We went in depth on the Micah Parsons side, the extension, all that good stuff. So if you haven't already, hit that sub button. Check out the Micah Parsons more extension side. This is the trade side today. YouTube.com/@CowboysTV. Free Cowboys videos when you subscribe. To be honest, having read the entire NFL Network report on Micah Parsons and also Max Crosby, Trey Hendrickson, kind of feels like the textbook classic NFL Network game day. Got to put the Cowboys' big player in a headline to generate attention on game day. It almost seemed cherry-picked with what they chose to discuss to kind of fit the trade angle. Because they led with Myles Garrett. Then they mentioned Micah Parsons. Then they mentioned Max Crosby and Trent Hendrickson too. It all kind of felt like we're going to look at just the trade angle and kind of ignore everything else and even where things currently sit, which I am not a fan of, by the way. Now, again, Micah said this during Super Bowl week. We have a lot of guys to sign. I don't think we can afford to keep having things wait out. To not mention the fact that Micah Parsons wants to get paid honestly feels kind of disingenuous from NFL Network. To not mention that. To not mention that ownership, Jerry Jones, made a comment about wanting to get Micah paid. That doesn't feel... It kind of feels like you just took the one angle that fit the story you were going for and not what was the main overall picture is right now. Oh, maybe he gets traded. It's possible. Certainly is. I do think, as NFL Network mentioned, you could get a pretty big haul for Micah Parsons. You should be able to get at least 2 first-round picks. Granted, one of those first-round picks has to go to an edge rusher, and you're downgrading at that position, so does one extra player really benefit you, or maybe it's 2 or whatever? I have my doubts. So I guess we'll see when a deal happens, if an extension happens, or if this, as the Cowboys often do, drag this bad boy out into training camp, which would really, really upset me. Because what they should do is move quickly. You should know what you want to do, and you should get it done. Because there's zero justifiable on-field football reasons, financial benefit reasons, to not having that Micah Parsons contract or decision made before free agency starts.